Hi, y'all. It is Stacy. I'm back in the real world. Um, this is Loving My Veteran, and we are walking in my shoes. So, good morning to everybody. I'm sorry I took yesterday off. I decided I was going to spend it with my veteran, which was amazing, by the way. Totally amazing to spend the day without him. We live out in the country, and so we had internet that was spotty at best. So, hey, Natalie. So, we had an amazing time spending the day together without social media. That meant no TV, no internet. We actually played cards last night. It was totally amazing. So, I recommended anybody to take a step back and go live in the real world for a little bit, the old school world. So, today, it's an interesting conversation. We're going to talk about the PTSD, and they didn't give you a handbook. It, yeah, I gotta check a message here. Um, Beautiful. Sorry. Um, Vishwan. So I wanted to, they don't give you a handbook, right? So we have these guys and they're diagnosed and I'm sorry, I know that it's women too, and I just always talk from my perspective. So put women or men, just kind of flip them around wherever. So we have these people that are veterans that are diagnosed with PTSD. And we're sitting there at the VA or they're at the VA and they get the diagnosis and they might get a few printed off pieces of paper that kind of say this is what's it. And you might find a pamphlet laying around somewhere that you take home, right? And so it's like 2 pages, 3 pages, and it talks about the normal stuff that we all know, the nightmares, the night sweats, the anxiety, the depression. So we kind of hear that, right? And that's just one of those things that we get and we hear as we're going through understanding PTSD and what it really does. And so it's kind of tough when we're doing that. That they don't prepare us for the real world. There's no preparation for the real stuff. There's no handbook that says this may happen. You get these list of symptoms and you're supposed to watch out, and it says at the bottom, um, if they get depressed or suicidal, reach out and get help. Well, that's special, but they're not suicidal all the time. They're not to that point all the time, but nobody tells you how to live with them day in and day out. So let me just kind of give you a little preview into what should be in the handbook. Because to me, without the handbook, it's kind of like this. You should have something that tells you the stuff. I mean, what happens when you have a baby? If you have a baby and you're at the hospital and you have this baby and they hand it back to you and say, here, take this baby home and let me tell you what it's going to do. It's going to cry, it's going to poop, and it's going to want to eat. Have a nice day. Well, they don't tell you anything else, not how much formula to give them, not how to breastfeed them. They don't teach you nothing. They just say it's going to cry, poop, and want to eat. Have a nice day. That's what they tell you when you have a baby, right? I mean, if that's all they told you, we would be horrible at this. So when our veteran has PTSD, they're like, oh, you're going to experience night sweats, terrors, there's going to be triggers, they're going to have nightmares, they're going to have anxiety. And if they get suicidal, call somebody. Here you go, have a nice day. That's beautiful, except for the fact that it's only partially true. We don't get the whole picture here. So that's why I'm saying we need a handbook. And the first thing you have to understand about PTSD is that it's unique to the individual. PTSD, combat PTSD, guilt PTSD, first responder PTSD, it's all different and it is based on the individual. I kind of look at it like, let's say we're going to a chili cook-off, okay? And everybody is making chili. Everybody's chili is going to be a little different. They're going to start with the same two basic ingredients, chili powder and tomatoes. But after that, everybody's is different, whether they're using beans or hamburger or deer or stew beef or onions or whatever, or green pepper, whatever's in their chili, it's going to be a little different. And that's what happens in PTSD. Not only, not only, y'all, what they've seen in combat or guilt or whatever, it is also all the stuff and past baggage from their normal days, from life prior to the military. So you mix all of that together, and now we got this big old pot of uniqueness. And each individual's PTSD is unique, but they don't tell us. Here's an example about you have guys in the same unit that experience the same thing, and not all of them will get PTSD. And people are like, well, how does that happen? So let me give you an example, and I'm going to go back to a friend of mine's son. So there are these two soldiers side by side, okay? And they both played soccer with the little boy from one of the little neighboring villages has come over every day, and they've all played soccer while they're stationed. Well, on this one particular day, the little boy doesn't bring a soccer ball anymore, he brings a bomb. So both soldiers shoot him because they have no choice. They have to protect themselves. So now we're sitting here and we're looking at the same scenario. One of them ends up with PTSD, the other doesn't. How does that happen? They both have shot a little boy. How does one end up with PTSD and the other not? Here's a simple explanation. The one has a 7-year-old son at home. This was may or may not have been his first kill. 7-year-old son. So he relates to that. That trauma is very real. The other one, in his previous deployment, had the same thing happen, and nobody shot the kid, and he watched his buddies die. So for him, he didn't develop PTSD from that event because for him it was different. He didn't bring that baggage. So that's kind of where I'm going when I talk about the differences and all the accumulations. Well, there's no way that anybody can print out all the information that you need. So now we're going to talk about what it's like to live with PTSD. And I kind of give it to you in the most simplest forms that I can give it to you. The first section is called There's a Mouse Up in the House. So imagine this, right? You've invited your whole family over for dinner. Everybody's sitting at the table. You got the snooty neighbors. And all of a sudden, this gray fuzzy thing with the long tail goes hauling tail across your floor. And you panic. And you become, ooh, do I get up and get the carving knife and cut its tail off like the little three blind mice in the nursery rhyme? Or do I ignore it and pray to God nobody else saw it? So the mouse in the house theory goes to the same concept. You're sitting at dinner, everybody is having a good time. Your veteran is sitting there next to your dad, everything is great, and somebody says something in a normal conversation that triggers him. Because we all know what the big triggers are, fireworks, startled, all a date, all those things. But we're just having dinner. And maybe the way your dad picked up the knife did that to him. We don't know. But now all of a sudden, your veteran has either become quiet and disengaged, or he's slamming the silverware on the table. And now it's like having that mouse run through your house. You have slid underneath of the table. You were trying to change the conversation around and make it nonchalant, when in reality, you were staring at him with knives like you got the carving knife and you want to stab him. I get it. I mean, it happens. This is the reality. And we all see it. It all happens in our day-to-day, everyday life. It's like the mouse in the house. Then he gets up. There's already tension at the table and everybody's quiet, so you can hear like all the silverware eating off the plates. he goes in the other room to decompress or goes outside to do whatever. Your family is now very quiet and you're trying to change the conversation. You feel very awkward. It happens. Then you go back in to talk to your veteran about it after they all leave. And they're like, I didn't do anything. Or your dad shouldn't have picked me up. Or you're the one who invited him over. And a lot of times they don't even think about it because they don't realize that this trigger has done something to them. So it's like having the freaking mouse run into your house. That's how I refer to it. That's not in the pamphlet anywhere. And we've all experienced that at some point or another. We all have that mouse in our house somewhere. And we don't want to have that. The next thing we get, and I kind of made little notes up in here because I'm, a note making person, is we get to this thing like I refer to as, the musical where they're like stomping the yard or river walk or one of those where they're stomping and they're like stemmed on the stage and they're stomping their feet into a rhythm and they have the trash can lids and they're beating on it just a certain way and they're slamming things down. Well, it was a Tony Award winning musical. It was great. But it doesn't need to happen in our living room. It doesn't need to happen in our house. See, we have days or moments when we say something or when we don't say anything and something that our veteran sees on TV or something that comes into his mind or something that happens turns him in like the lead actor in Stomp the Yard or Riverwalk. Okay, so he's stomping his feet, slamming the doors and the cabinet doors, and he's slamming the silverware down. And you're like, whoa, I'm not on Broadway. And there's days that you're thinking, my God, is he going to get a Tony Award for this? And then you think, how much is a Tony Award if I sell it? But it happens. And you're like, what the heck? That's not in the pamphlet anywhere. Producing the slamming musical that goes on in your house is nowhere to be found in the pamphlet. It's not in the 3 printed off pages, but they didn't tell us that. Remember the concept. You got a new baby, they're going to cry, they're going to poop, and you're going to need to feed them. They don't tell you all this nonsense that goes on, but it's real. I mean, and it happens. And it doesn't happen in every relationship, but it happens in some. Here's another one I like. Obi-Wan Kenobi's favorite words back in Star Wars, and it's weird, a lot of veterans are Star Wars fans, but this is not the droid that you're looking for. Oh, speaking of my droid, here he comes.
This is not the droid you're looking
for. Right? So, have you ever tried to have a conversation with them? Right? And you want to talk or you need something done and they're kind of in a zone and it's kind of like not the droid. That's kind of the response you get from them and you're like, what the heck, you're my partner, you're my spouse, you're the person who's supposed to be there, and they're like, I'm not dealing with that today. This is not the droid you're looking for. I'm not your husband today. I'm not your wife today. I'm not your partner today. You're looking for somebody else. And that's kind of how we feel. We have these moments where we feel that way. Again, nobody put pictures of Obi-Wan Kenobi standing up in the little pamphlet with the this is not the person you're looking for. They never do that to us. It's crazy how we get through that. They get in that strange zone. Oh, y'all, this is one of my favorites. I think they should all have been in the old Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? I didn't ask for you to speak in this, that you can go. Oh my gosh. This is not the droid you're looking for. Thank you. Love you too, honey. Veterans suffer from hearing loss. We know that there's an issue and a lawsuit with 3M. We got that going on. But have you ever had a conversation with your veteran where you're sitting in the same room and you're talking to them in a normal tone because you can't yell because that sets off a trigger, right? So you're sitting there having a conversation with them and you get no response. And you just want to go, can you hear me now? And you say, well, what'd you think about that? And they're like, what? And so you spent 20 minutes on this well rehearsed conversation about something important because you needed to word it so it wouldn't set off a trigger. And what are you doing? You're sitting here and they're like, what'd you say? And I'm like, are you kidding me? So after the conversation, I get up. I purposely wait till I'm 2 rooms away. And I say something under my breath because I'm steaming by this point, and they can all of a sudden hear. They got like this miraculous hearing. They can't hear you in the room, but they can hear something under your breath 2 rooms away. Nowhere in the pamphlets did they give out did it say they suffer from selective hearing. Nowhere in the pamphlets did it say they suffer from selective hearing. I'm like, this is crazy. It's nuts. It's not in the pamphlet anywhere. Like, oh, okay. Or this is my favorite one. We walk out of the room and we don't say anything. And they're like, hey, I didn't say nothing. I breathed. I'm like, oh my God. And then sometimes I think they got like telepathic stuff because whatever I'm thinking, and I know it's not coming out of my mouth because I practice really hard not to do that, they hear it anyway. So nowhere in the book is that mentioned. Nowhere in the handbook, in the pamphlets is that mentioned. It should have been in the handbook. Not in there. It is just like crazy to me sometimes. Oh, and the file clerk. They become this amazing file clerk. I have this thing that when I put the coffee cups up, I like to put them up upside down in the cabinet, sitting on the thing, right? So that no little dust or anything gets in them. One day, I had my little amazing coffee cup and I put them up. I was in a hurry. I grabbed them off of the strainer by the handles and I set them in the cabinet. I forgot to turn them upside down. Girl, you would have thought World War III had done gone off because there's, what do you mean? The cabinet be upside down. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, I just put them away and I forgot. Well, you're the one who said that the cups are supposed to be upside down. I'm only doing what you said, and this is the way you want it done. And I'm like, okay, but are they in the cabinet? Well, yeah, but you said the cup. Look, they're in the cabinet. If you don't like that, turn them over. So for 20 minutes, we get to hear how we filed the cups wrong. Yeah, y'all know what I'm saying. Everybody gets what I'm saying. Mhm. It is crazy how that little stuff can set them off. We don't, it's not a big deal. Putting things away. So my veteran Carl, y'all know when I talk about him all the time. He has like this incredible photographic memory. I don't know who else has it, but he does. So like if I misplace something, I'm like, oh, where's that at? And he'll like even in the refrigerator, he'll say, second shelf, left hand side, third item in the back. I'm like, the heck, who the heck remembers that? I'm lucky if the milk and the creamer can get in the fridge at the end of my cereal and my coffee. Okay? I am on a win if the creamer and the milk can get in the refrigerator. I take that as a score, a victory for me. Nope, not that way. So what happens when you're doing this is it's not filed in the right place. If you said something in the wrong place, it's like, I don't know who's been up in the refrigerator, but the milk is not where it normally is. Because is it sitting on the counter getting warm? That's not in the book anywhere. That's not in the pamphlet that they gave me, that obsession about where the milk sits. Yeah. Or we have a spice thing sitting above the stove, right? And so when we're looking for a certain spice, I'm like, I need to find this. And he's like, oh, it's the third row over, fourth spice bag. And lo and behold, it's the third row over, fourth spice bag. Y'all know there are just days that I want to go mix them all up just for fun. There are days that I want to just go mix them up for fun, but I know what that will do, so I don't. But this file clerk mentality, and heaven forbid they put something in the wrong place and they don't remember doing it. It's like aliens have done come into your house and moved stuff. Okay. I kid you not. It's like some conspiracy theory up in our house. If something gets moved, and he may have been the one who moved it and doesn't remember that, and then the answer is no. We lived in the other house. There were two doors to our bathroom. One came off the master bedroom, one came off the hallway. Well, when the air conditioner was blowing and you shut those doors, it created a vacuum just enough to open the bathroom cabinet about that far. So Carl comes in there and he says to me, I've been behind you shutting that cabinet. What did you look for down there? I've shut the cabinet like 3 times. I'm like, I didn't open the cabinet. They said, I'm like, I didn't open the cabinet, right? He says, well, I'm going crazy. I'm like, well, I'm not either. I didn't open the cabinet, right? 2 days later, he was in the bathroom when I shut the doors and watched the cabinet open because of the pressure change. I'm like, but it took me 2 days. For 2 days, one of the two of us was crazy, and I was almost willing to admit it was me that was crazy, so we didn't have to hear that I thought he might have left it open. Well, I didn't say that. He just made that assumption. So I just thought it was like, oh, cool. Here we go. That was kind of funny to me. But they do that, and it turns into like World War flipping three. If some of this stuff goes off. So I understand that, we all go through this, but nowhere when we hear PTSD are we told this is the realities of what's going to happen. There is no handbook that tells us all this. So we get frustrated because, what is and what isn't, and we're so frustrated. Well, let me just tell y'all, we're gonna have mice up in our house when we least expect it. It's gonna happen. You just have to deal with it. And I think the biggest problem we have actually comes from public, and even to our being sometimes, especially when we first learn about it, is there is a stereotype, right? Public perception. There is a stereotype. Y'all, they are not all Rambo. And and I think the news media through, the one time that somebody shoots something that may have been a veteran at some point in their life, and they go in and they've shot the post office or whatever, it's crazed veteran with PTSD goes on rampage. I mean, and that's what you see on the front page of the newspaper, right? So then we have Hollywood portraying these veterans with PTSD as some crazy person who runs around, that John Rambo type. They're not all John Rambo. So when we vent to our family about any of the above, I'm not the droid that you're looking for. The mouse has done ran through the house. We're doing Riverwalk or Stomp or one of those musicals going on up in our house. Our family and our friends who don't deal with PTSD on a regular basis develop this fear. They're concerned about our safety. They're concerned because the stereotype has been they're going to shoot something up or they're John Rambo. I mean that's just the stereotype. So we even look at it from the veterans' perspective. What if they go to try to get a job? And so they're filling out the paperwork and, they got the health questionnaires and all this stuff on there. And they list PTSD as their condition. An employer really may think twice about that. Because Hollywood, in all of their infinite wisdom, and the news media, because we have to carry something on the TV, have stereotyped veterans with PTSD as a certain way. So what happens now? They feel defective. They feel branded. It's part of the reason they don't go and they don't get treatment that they need because it may be part of their permanent record. There are a ton of veterans with PTSD that hold down real jobs. There are a ton of veterans with PTSD that are loving and caring and wonderful fathers and mothers. Do they have issues like they didn't put in your handbook? Yeah, they do. But it doesn't stop them at the core of being that loving husband, father, employee. They can do all those things, but the stereotype has become they're John Rambo and they're dangerous. So when we talk to our family for positive support, what are they getting? Well, I've seen what those people do when they have PTSD. You need to be concerned because he's going to snap and break your neck in the middle of the night. Not likely. Does it happen? Sometimes. But so does other spouses killing their wives in the middle of the night that don't have PTSD. Will he say something that may hurt your child's feelings along the way, or you think he's too tough on your kid along the way? Yeah, probably will. But there are also a crap ton of pedophiles in this world that they're not one of. So that stereotype makes it even harder for us because it's not in the handbook, it's not in the pamphlet. In the pamphlet, it warns the dangers. They may develop suicidal and homicidal ideations with explosive rage and anger. That's out there. Google PTSD. Your family knows now, oh, I'm living with my spouse who's got PTSD, and they become the Dr. Googling fool. And it lists the bad things, doesn't list the other stuff. It's no wonder it's tough. So just want to tell you about the fact that, y'all, they don't come with a handbook. Every one of them is going to be different. It's going to be kind of like that chili we talked about. You might start off with the two basic ingredients, tomatoes and chili powder. But along the way, you put in your individual stuff from individual experiences because your grandmother made chili this way, because his grandmother made chili that way, and you put it all together, and guess what? You have your own chili recipe. And that's the reality of what PTSD is. It's all unique, it's all individual. Do we have common threads? Yes. Do we have mice running through our house? Unfortunately. It's just like that thing because you know it's going to happen at some point. Do we have the stomping of the feet and the slamming of the doors at times? Telling you, we could win a Tony Award for Stomp the Yard. I'm sure I could sell that thing for something. Do we have the avoidance in the I'm not the droid you're looking for? Yeah, we do. We do. Do we have the can you hear me now? I'm telling you, Carl DeMuth needs to be on the Verizon commercial. Because I'd be sitting right next to him. And what? And then I can be 2 rooms away. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I was talking about something else. So take time and realize that it's unique and it's individual and we're all here and we're all in the same boat. So what I'm doing today is I did take yesterday off. It was, again, I cannot stress enough how amazing it was. So now I'm very behind, but I have almost all this stuff tapped up. And I will post it on the website and into the group on the website. So y'all start moving over there some. www.lovingmyveteran.com. You can join the group there. But the the PDF document of the handbook will be there. And it does give you some helpful tips on how to get through some of these amazing things. For all y'all that participated in the Veteran Photo Challenge yesterday and posted pictures of your veteran, it was amazing. It was nice to see so much. In fact, Facebook picked up on it and actually created it as a challenge. So there's going to be some special video coming out utilizing some of those pictures again this afternoon. Don't forget tonight we have Let's Talk. We'll repost those links. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Pop on. It is well worth the time. We have so much fun. And we just talk with people who comprehend and understand what we're going through. And our veterans are there and they talk about it from the real world too. So it's a real world perspective. So we do that again. If you have not listened to Behind the Service podcast this week, um, amazing. They have events on there. It is worth listening to. There's so much that's going on a positive side. Again, don't forget that we are going to Orlando in August. Cannot wait. It is going to be an amazing thing. Sean and I have been working on getting the rest of the itinerary done and the sponsorships because our goal is to reduce that price to y'all. So we haven't even put a price out yet. But again, just start thinking about getting there for that event. It will be amazing. It is a family event. I think that's all we have going on right now. But I'm Stacy, and this has been Walking in my Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. And I hope everybody has a blessed day. And I will get on social media and get it all straightened out in just a few. Have a blessed one. Bye.